Mr. Martin yen class ne ko I don't know ashley the dagido yen class ne ko so never ka or what ko to chin and what lot na for such a the way that chapters nas ne ko be that is what the kido and I love them ka that is what it ko ani what and so that the show ko ne ko I don't have a kai to Washington ko that she that did a codo, I don't know, codo, I'm come for the codo, the way that codo such can codos speaker Damon codo, Delegate Damon codo, Adolay, like directive. I that's kind of what chapters basically that's John like on me. The codo, I'm not control it, they had the nation. That's why that been as a slow. Och sen då är det då någonting skit att det då det där chapter has ande och är sen då någonting skit att då det då är det lätt så att det är då är nästan så det så då och är det då är det inte att zigi är då och några kanske det så har det så way with it. Thank you.
Time. Honorable Slater. With 2 minutes and 43 seconds.
Thank you. I don't want to waive any parts of the Appropriations Act, certainly in our term. And I think there's a way to get the funds distributed across. My attempt earlier was to avoid any waivers and still ensure some sort of financial accountability. And the council elected not to pursue that avenue. So at this time, I'll yield back time. I'm ready to vote. Thank you.
Honorable Arvizo with reserve time of 3 minutes and 4 seconds.
Madam Speaker, members of 25th Navajo Nation Council, I need not this. Das Listo, I don't Chidaos Edo, Hashida is Hadatis, Aronald Sose Ani, Tati, Deja, Aro, Kujeda with Smart Update Kido Aya, oh, here's on Deja. I couldn't pay that is reimbursement Ziggy. Aro earlier, paid his one Joyce from FEMA, Joyce Garcia, labor, it's not reimbursed. She's that Aggie. None of what the room helped with is reimbursable, it seems like. So, oh, yeah, Jay, don't know how to get late. Go without the channel, Ashwood. Of course, she's not all, base had a hundred million that those kids in any honorable Slater. Shashi don't vote that evening. Madam Speaker.
Yeah, Honorable Arvizo, back to reserve time. Honorable Yanito with 3 minutes and 24 seconds.
I want to go ahead and waive my time. Let's go ahead and vote.
If there's no more reserve time, Honorable James, any responses?
Shadeja, Speaker. Not earlier, should say, you know, in regards to Peru and Tohaji Lake. Rado, there's one more chapter. Based on the Dehigi, their ending balance, like for the room, $129,000 to Kaho. That's not the correct number. At the end of the day, the Rue and Tohaji Lake total amount will still be in negative balance. AAD, like, Tohajile is in 67,000 in red. So with the 30,000 threshold, they will still be in the red. That correction is currently being made by Administrative Service, Division of Community Development. I know I requested for a recess, but this was an error, technical error. If you look at the listing on page 2 of the document here, it indicates 129,000. That's incorrect. So if you guys want to recess and get a confirmation as it being in black and white with the change that is currently being made, I would recommend a 5-minute recess until we receive that document, speaker. But I leave it all in your hand, and I know my colleagues want to vote, but I just wanted to make that known to my colleagues that it will not be $129,689 for the room, and then Tohajile, it will not be $97,286. They will continue to still be in a negative balance for them. But I leave it up in your hand, Shadeja, Speaker Curley. Yeah.
Honorable James, I believe the documents were sent out to the delegates at 5:43 p.m. Honorable James will honor your recess for 5 minutes. We'll recess at 6:07. 5 minutes.
Number 221. Getting hungry again. I know. Plate with 2 pieces of chicken. So. It's ready to see the spot. Like it's not all gone.
Oh, man, I'm told him to get cold spoons and put it underneath it.
Roll call. Delegate Arviso. Honorable Begay. Honorable Charles Newton. Honorable Claw. Honorable Damon. Honorable Daniels. Members of the 25th Navajo Council, we have 22 present. We are reconvening at 6:15 p.m. Honorable Fitz James.
Speaker Curley. I have no further comments and let's just move on to voting. Thank you.
Okochi, honorable delegates will go to the board. Call for a vote. Amendment 4. Honorable Crotty votes red via text. One minute. Thirty seconds to vote. Locking down votes. We have 7 in favor and 14 opposed. Amendment fails. Honorable delegates, we're back on the main motion. First, we have for reserve time, Honorable Nez at 3 minutes and 16 seconds.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker Curley, Honorable members of the 25th Navajo Nation Council. So I would like to waive the rest of my time. I'm ready to vote on this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Nez. Next, for reserve time, we have Honorable Arvizo with 2 minutes and 52 seconds.
Madam Speaker, thank you. Auto 25th Navajo Nation Council. Ani Kudo Honorable Nez Yehadzi Gidani. So let's just vote on it. Let's just go back to the original vote on it and shield up on this case, Madam Speaker. Waive the rest of my time.
Waiving time. Next on reserve time, we have Honorable Slater with 4 minutes and 51 seconds. He waives his time. Next on reserve time, we have Honorable Parrish with 4 minutes and 12 seconds. So that correction, it is Honorable Damon with 4 minutes and 12 seconds. He waives his time. We have legal counsel here proposing for technical amendment. Reserve time, Honorable Vince James with 2 minutes and 44 seconds.
Make a motion to cease debate. Okay. Reserve my time.
Reserve time of 2:34. Honorable Vince James, we did have 12 delegates who spoke to the main motion, and there are no reserved time, only for yourself of 2 minutes and 34 seconds, and we have Honorable Charles Newton in queue. Shema, Honorable Charles Newton. Initiate Albanson kiss with the cease debate since you did press for Q.
Speaker, I believe that Delegate Vince James withdrew his motion, so you might want to recognize that first.
We're going back to Honorable James. Reserve time of 2 minutes and 34 seconds.
I withdraw my cease debate, which I did make that earlier when you called on me, Speaker Curley. So withdraw, cease debate, that's how you're recognizing.
So if you. There's a withdrawal of the seized debate. We'll go back to Honorable Charles Newton on the main motion.
I'd like to make a motion for amendment. I believe Ms. Bobroff can send that out to us. I reserve my time.
Reserve time of 4:54. All right, staff has the amendment and we'll read that into the record. Staff.
Thank you, Speaker and members of the Navajo Nation Council. Amendment 4 to legislation number 003-23. 1, replace the budget form 4 under Exhibit B with the new budget form 4 accompanying this amendment. 2, replace pages 2, 3, 4, and 5 under Exhibit C with the new page 2, 3, 4, and page 5 accompanying this amendment. 3, renumber or reletter succeeding paragraphs, sections, and exhibits as necessary and appropriate. The Office of Legislative Services and Legislative Council are authorized to make technical edits to this legislation and its exhibits to implement the council's intent. This amendment supersedes inconsistent language in any other amendments. So therefore, you have a copy of the budget form 4. You also have page 2 of the Exhibit C, page 3 of Exhibit C, page 4 of Exhibit C, and page 5 of Exhibit C. Speaker.
Is there a second? Second by Honorable Ness. Ricky Ness. For discussion or questions, Honorable Slater.
Thank you. My question is, we're updating all of the agencies except for Chinle, as I understand it. And is this updating the distribution amounts to each agency and chapter? Because if it's the 50-50 formula, then what is accounting for this change? I'll reserve my time. Thank you.
4:38 reserve time. Honorable Charles Newton.
Is that the question directed to me? I'll go ahead and turn the floor over to Ms. Bobroff, who with this amendment would be able to explain. As I understand, it's a technical amendment, but Bobroff?
Thank you very much. So this technical amendment was requested by DCD, the Division of Community Development. It was an update to the schedule to identify exactly what they had to change. I need to defer to Division of Community Development, and I believe it would be Lydell Davis who sent out the corrected forms. Back to you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Slater with reserve time of 4 minutes and 38 seconds.
Thank you. I'm looking at the updated Form 4. It looks like starting from the bottom, Western Agency still has $513,379, but instead of 14 or 15 cents, it's 14 cents. And then it's 32 cents on Northern Agency instead of 33, 46 instead of 47 cents, 94 cents instead of 91 cents. So I just wanted to make sure that to be charitable, in the past, there have been quote unquote technical amendments that end up making pretty substantive changes. So with that, I'll yield my time. I'm ready to vote. Thank you.
There's this time. There's somebody else for questions. Honorable Vince James.
Thank you, Don. Just Speaker Curley. In regards to the chapters that are in negative, is there a reason why they're still receiving funds on this new amendment that's before us? Reserve my time.
Reserve time at 4:45. I'm gonna call Charles Newton.
Thank you, Speaker Curley. So again, my understanding is this was supposed to just be a technical amendment. But I think with that question, I'll go ahead and turn the floor over to Dana to answer that question.
Legal counsel.
Thank you very much. So what this schedule is so let me back up a little bit. If you recall, the original legislation called for a 50-50 formula distribution. This amendment just updated those numbers a little bit, as Delegate Slater so graciously pointed out. Some of the numbers were off a little bit. So these new schedules just to create that one, correct that. From the beginning, when the legislation was originally dropped using the 50-50 formula, negative balances actually aren't a factor. It's just 30,000 or 3 million distributed to the chapters using the 50-50 formula, and they get their 50-50 distribution regardless of the amount in their current balance. So those that have negative balances, they're going to get these dollars, and what it's going to do is it will either correct their negative balance or it will lessen the amount of the negative. So back to you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Vince James, you have a reserve time of 4 minutes and 45 seconds.
Yeah, Donna Shadeja, Speaker. In regards to the concerns that were brought up throughout the day, we're probably going on 8 hours now on this one legislation. Throughout some comments, my colleagues were indicating that they were not in support of giving fundings to those chapters that are in negative balance. And at this point, we're giving some chapters almost close to $30,000 that are in negative balance. Wouldn't it be proper to move forward with deleting those chapters of not receiving the funding? Or are we appraising them and encouraging other chapters that they can go into negative balance, and we can fix it later on down the road with awarding them when they're under sanction or under audit at this point in time? Reserve my time. Thank you.
Reserve time 3:38. Honorable Charles Newton.
Thank you for that question. I'm Chanela, Delegate James. So I could try to answer that. But I think that the understanding is that we are supposed to be helping the chapters. In terms of the negative balance, if the chapters with negative balance continue to stay in the negative balance, they won't be able to help anybody. But I'll go ahead and turn it over to Dana, because again, this was supposed to just be a technical amendment. And my understanding of a technical amendment is there's just supposed to be some corrections, whether it's a typo or it's a change in the document that needs to correct the balance. It's supposed to just be very clear. But Dana?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Delegate Charles Newton. As I said earlier, this technical amendment just corrects the original schedules that were included in the legislation. If the council wishes to not fund the chapters with negative balances, or not fund the chapters that are under sanctions, we have to go back to the drawing board. This technical amendment does not have anything to do with the negative balances. But if there is a desire not to fund the chapters that have negative balances, we will have to go back and come up with some other schedules, and it's going to be difficult to do a 50-50 distribution if you are not doing it to all chapters. So we'll need some time. If there is an amendment requested to not fund the chapters with negative balances, Office of Legislative Counsel will need some time to figure out exactly how to do that, and we'll also need to work with the Division of Community Development. Back to you, Speaker. Thank you.
We have Honorable Begay in queue to the amendment.
Yeah, Nana Tekro, Honorable Speaker. DDA chapter you but days nilo. Sergeant no han no either. This negative gear don't hear that in the official that clingy done call. Dishin film, I mean, but she thought occurring came into a snowball the detail called Dika Kurobanet in Joe chapter got each other cut. Based on what you did, initiating legislation there. Cut negative party and so the chapters with the negative that's what voted the Honorable James amendment vote down daily. She green they shouldn't end a vote down earlier. Kodika Kodo moving forward, my chapter, the one that's in the big red, is going to have $27,011.93. Are they going to still be in the red after we do this 50-50? Reserve my time.
Reserve time of 3:28. Honorable Nota, point of order.
Yes, it doesn't have anything to do with the technical amendment. I say we stay on track.
Honorable Nota, which rule within our rules are you referring to?
The point of order rule, it says here that, the motion, individual motion procedure or remark appears to be in violation of the establishment of the council. Any council member can rise the point of order. And, I'm sorry, this just does not have to do with the amendment that we're discussing.
Honorable Nota, I do appreciate your point of order. However, some delegates just do need clarification on the technical amendments that they are making. But we'll just keep along with the reserve times on here. I also do have Vince James and Honorable Norman Begay who still have those technical questions to the amendment. And for clarification, it was Ayan that this kid. With that, Honorable Vince James, you still have a reserve time of 3 minutes and 38 seconds.
Madam Speaker, Shadeja, can I request to go into a 10 minutes caucus and figure out what we need to do, because it's bringing the wrong message to those chapters that are not in the negative. And we need to figure out how we need to move forward. And I'd like to make that request to do a 10 minutes caucus with my colleagues. Reserve my time.
This is reserve time. Reserve time of 3:07. We recognizing that motion to go into caucus for 10 minutes. Do I have a second? Second by Honorable Charles Newton. We'll go to the drawing board for a vote to go into a 10-minute caucus. Delegate Simpson. Honorable Helena Begay. Thirty seconds to vote. Honorable Karate votes red. via text? The time expired, but honorable call Slater. Votes read. 11 in favor, 10 opposed. Motion to go into a 10-minute caucus carries. Honorable delegates, I believe we can utilize one of the conference rooms. We're entering into caucus at 6:46 PM. to roll call. Please press your buttons. For the record, honorable parties on via text. Will Simpson. About delegates, we have 22 present. We are back in session at 7:01 p.m. We have Honorable So to the amendment.
And I'm gonna go ahead and request that to have legislative council draft the language of allowing the chapters that are in the negative to receive the funds. Not too sure if it's ready, but give you time to draft it. That way we can come back to this tomorrow morning, fresh-minded. Getting really antsy down here at the floor. And that's back to Commissioner Jovan, they don't want to not keep for even yes, so that's gonna be my the first request. And then we can work on that first thing in the morning. With that, we'll go ahead and move forward to a motion to recess till tomorrow. Thank you. Reserve my time.
Reserve time of 4:04. There is a motion to recess. And there is a second by Honorable Daniels. Is there any objections? By privilege, Honorable Charles Newton.
Thank you, Speaker. We currently have a motion on the floor. And you're doing a motion on top of a motion. So I know that motion to recess that council does, there are rules to that. But we're in the midst of an amendment right now. So if we can get maybe Office of Legislative Counsel to provide us some guidance on this, because we have two motions on the floor right now. Thank you.
Chief Legislative Counsel.
Good evening, this is Dana Barbara, Chief Legislative Counsel. In your Navajo Nation Council Rules of Order, while there is a specific rule for motion to adjourn, there's not a specific rule for recessing. So now we have discretion of the speaker as whether they wish to honor the motion to recess. If they did that and it passed, then you would, when you started up tomorrow morning, you would start exactly where you are now. And of course, and where you are now is voting on the technical amendment or discussing the technical amendment. I apologize. If you could also, another option is go ahead, finish with this amendment and then go into recess. So because you don't have a specific rule on recessing in your rules of order, it defaults to the discretion of the speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker and Delegate Charles Newton.
Honorable Charles Newton. I'm going to recognize the motion by Honorable So to recess, and also a second already by Honorable Daniels. Honorable Charles Newton, point of privilege.
Thank you, Speaker. So just so that we're clear here, we're setting precedents. So that means that at council, we can have a motion and a motion. You're setting precedents tonight. So you can have two motions on the floor. I just want to make that clear. So logically, the best way to do it is to address the first motion by either asking the motioning party to remove their motion and to save it till tomorrow and ask the seconding delegate, or address the matter, or in your case, we can have two motions on the floor at the same time at council. You're setting precedents. Thank you.
Should Honorable Charles Newton. Nede motion you lagi. Should Honorable So. Kodo withdraw that's in lago ayat etole. Honorable So.
I just would like to say before I go ahead and withdraw, before I proceed to withdraw. We have done this before. We recessed on an existing amendment that has been in place. And we picked off from there. That's the reason why I made that motion. And we have done that clearly with ARPA legislation and CARES Act. In our late night discussions, late evening discussions, went to recess, especially when we came in we had meetings on Saturdays and Sundays, and we recess in the midst of an amendment. And we just pick off and start off from where we left off from. So, but that's just my thought there. And I'm gonna go ahead and just withdraw my motion. If you guys wanted to hash it out, continue, that's fine. I'm here, but I just want to let you guys know that I'm just thinking about staff, trying to get them home. But if we want to continue to move forward, then we can also do a motion after main motion is pulled off. So I'm going to do that. And then that way, if the motioning party in the seconding party of the amendment can pull back to get the amendment fixed, what legislative council can propose pertaining to the chapters that are in the red. That way we start again tomorrow morning. So anyway, with that, I'm going to withdraw that.
Honorable Daniels, do you concur?
Okay, Speaker, Madam Speaker, should say I see VPK is in there on the Yahoo. So I know that we're gonna be on this for another 2-3 hours as a dog like go. So once I stayed the shuttles and then on a radam, was a sheet of a case, the sheet that's a little joy laughing so on it's not a little dog a memory on the sheet I sheet that motion like to lead to recess and the purpose comp and I'm changing the decla. So I'm gonna withdraw my second. Madam Speaker.
Okochi, we'll go back to the amendment. Honorable Charles Newton for your responses.
Thank you. I did motion to amend this technical amendment, but it sounds like there's still a lot of questions. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna withdraw my motion. And then that way, we can pick this up tomorrow. I will propose the motion again and better explain the technical amendment. That way it leaves the door open for a motion to recess. So I will withdraw my motion to amend. I reserve, well, I'm not on time, so yeah, so.
Honorable Ricky Nez, do you concur?
I also concur with withdrawal. Thank you.
Goshi. We're back to the main motion. There's a motion to recess. Honorable Arvizo, we are back on the main motion, so back in queue, Honorable Arvizo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, although the 25th Navajo Nation Council, earlier,
Honorable Arvizo. Correction, this is on the main motion, so you did not have any reserve time. However, Honorable Vince James, you do have reserve time of 2 minutes and 34 seconds.
So Deja Speaker Curley, earlier I made a motion to recess and I guess that wasn't recognized with that. Since I'm the only one, correct? I'll just probably waive the rest of my time and let's vote on the legislation. Thank you.
We'll wait his time.
Yes.
Honorable Charles Newton, you do have reserve time of 4:54.
So just to be clear, the technical amendments were to correct the timelines. So if you guys are good with the timeline and you don't need the technical amendment, then we can proceed forward to the vote. But make sure you read the legislation because your chapters will be affected by this with the timeline in place. Make sure you know what the timeline is. The amendment that I proposed was a technical amendment to change the timeline. That was it. But then we got into this whole other debate about the negative balance. So then there was a motion to recess. So that was withdrawn because I said, I will go ahead and withdraw my motion so that we can come back to it tomorrow to better explain the way that the timeline is set. But if you guys are good with the timeline, remember, you're going to report back to your chapters. If you guys are good with the timeline, then we can proceed forward to the vote. I thought that the motion to recess would have allowed us to be able to come back tomorrow so that we can clarify the timeline that need to be corrected. Because if you're voting today and it's a 60-day timeline, You just committed your chapters to a 60-day timeline. So it's gonna be up to you. I thought there was gonna be a motion to recess so we could pick up this amendment tomorrow. But now there's a motion to just go straight to the vote. So if we're just going straight to the vote, then, and everybody's good with the timeline, then I'll go ahead and waive my time. But if there's still questions about the timeline, then I don't want to waive my time because I still need time to be able to make that motion tomorrow. So right now I'm going to reserve my time and I'm going to ask my colleagues, are we good with the timeline?
Reserve time of 2:46. Question of privilege by. Point of privilege by Honorable Slater.
First of all, Delegate Damon beat me to it, but thank you for being magnanimous. My point of privilege is Delegate Charles Newton is referring to the timeline. I thought that we passed the timeline amendment in Delegate Damon's amendment that we already voted on. And then the technical amendment was related to the dollars and cents. And it looks like that was withdrawn. So I don't know what the 60-day one is, and I'm just asking for clarification from you, Speaker, or from Ms. Bobroff.
Right. Chief Legal Counsel does have an answer for you, so I'll refer it to her.
What was Damon's motion? I mean, amendment. Thank you very much. Two things. One, when Delegate Damon made his directive motion earlier today, I believe it was amendment number 3. It set a 5-day timeline for OMB, DCD, the controller to get the funds into the chapter accounts. The technical amendment does not have anything to do with the timelines. What the technical amendment does is it switches out exhibits, and those exhibits have corrected dollar figures. And I believe Delegate Slater went back earlier and identified which of those figures were changed. Lydell Davis from DCD has requested she can explain the amendment. If you don't want to go that direction, I think that Laureline Tapaye from my office is on the line, and she can get on and explain to you what the change is with the technical amendment. Is that acceptable to you, Madam Speaker?
Thank you, Chief Legislative Counsel. If your staff is online, then we can help Zoom her in for that further explanation.
Thank you very much. Laureline, can you please get on the line and explain what the technical amendments are? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bobroff. Can everyone hear me?
Go ahead.
Thank you. So after hours on Friday, the 20th, our office received the corrected exhibit. Well, no, it wasn't corrected. It was just exhibit C, which is the breakdown for the 50-50 distribution to the chapters under the amendment under this legislation. And so that set of documents was attached to the legislation when it was released and when it was posted to DIB, when it was publicly posted on the DIB website. Then Monday, I got notified by Liddell Davis from DCD that there were some minor errors in the amount of cents in some of these columns in Exhibit C that were just minor errors. And so Liddell sent over corrected pages. So this amendment, what we're calling the technical amendment, is to switch out certain pages in the exhibits for corrected pages. There's no substantive change at all to this legislation with this technical amendment. Everything in the body of the legislation stays the same as was posted on the DIB website. The only changes is that we are switching out certain pages for the certain pages in the exhibits, and the corrected dollar amount corrections are made. And so that's what's going on with the technical amendment. I hope that's clear.
Honorable Delegate, you also had a point of privilege.
Oh, no, Honorable Slater is the one.
Could Honorable Delegate Slater repeat that, please, if I'm to answer that question?
Honorable Slater, did you have that question answered?
Yes, I think what I said was correct.
Honorable delegates, are there additional questions or anybody in queue? We do only have one reserved time. If none, Honorable Charles Newton. The time of 2 minutes and 46 seconds.
Thank you, Speaker Curley. So I went up to Dana and I also clarified. So when I was talking about the timeline, I was talking about the timeline that we put in place, which is the 5 day. So I wanted to clarify that. And then, so I guess if it's just a couple of cents, I don't know how OOC feels about it, but I feel like we're talking about the amendment when there's no amendment. But I just want to make it known that we're going straight to vote on this legislation. I don't know how, you know, if it's even going to matter with the couple of cents. I know when I'm off a couple of cents on my budget book, which I'm budgeting right now, but if I'm off, then it throws off everything. So I don't know how they feel about it, which is why we're trying to correct it. And we all know that when these things occur, Office of the Controller and OMB, if they find one mistake, they don't move forward. And it results in our chapters not getting the funds that they need. So That's why I said, I just, if you guys are good, if there's a consensus that we don't need this technical amendment, then I'm fine. I can go ahead and waive the rest of my time. I reserve my time in case there's more questions.
Reserve time of 1:23. Honorable delegates, are there any other questions to the main motion? Honorable Charles Newton, there's no additional questions on the floor. You still have reserved time of 1 minute and 23 seconds.
I'm gonna call a point of privilege with that. You guys taking my time, is that okay?
Honorable Charles Newton, point of privilege.
So my point of privilege is in terms of the procedure that's happening today. So what I'm worried about is if I waive my time and then we wind up, talking about the amendment again, I waive my time. So that's why I'm like, okay, if I waive my time and we go straight to vote, that's fine. But if I waive my time and then we wind up talking about the legislation again, I just waive my time thinking that we're going to go vote. So my question now is, are we going straight to vote? And if it fails, then I waive my time to the main motion. Is that correct?
Yes, Honorable Charles Newton, that's correct. So there's no other questions from other delegates on the main motion. And there's also no reserved time. Yes. Honorable Charles Newton will still be recognizing your reserved time. Won't be calling to go straight to a vote with the reserved time. Just for clarification, honorable delegates, there is no one in queue for any more questions or comments. And we also do not have any more reserved time except for Honorable Charles Newton with 1 minute and 23 seconds. And if you do want to waive your time, we will go forward with a vote. But if you do reserve time, then that's your time, Honorable Charles Newton.
Sorry, so my question, point of privilege.
Honorable Charles Newton.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Speaker Curley. So my question is, if I waive my time and it goes to vote, and then let's say it fails, the legislation fails, and then, well, you know what, never mind. Okay, never mind. I waive my time.
Thank you, members of the 25th Navajo Nation Council. We don't have anybody else in the queue. We also do not have any more reserved time. Or at this time be calling for a vote and going to the second reading. Staff.
Thank you, Speaker and members of the Navajo Nation Council. Thank you, Speaker and members of the nomination council. Amendment 1. On page 3 at lines 21 through 23, make the following changes in paragraph C and overstricken list as provided in 12 NC section 820N. The UUFB funds approved herein shall not lapse at the end of fiscal year 2023, so long as each chapter budgets these funds in the subsequent fiscal year for the same emergency purposes. New language of the UUFB funds allocated herein, any all amounts exceeding 20,000 that remain in each individual chapter's emergency fund account as of September 1, 2023, because such funds are unspent and unencumbered by the chapter. As of that date shall revert to the UUFB account on that date. 2, renumber, re-letter succeeding paragraph sections and exhibits as necessary and appropriate. The Office of Legislative Services and the Office of Legislative Counsel are authorized to make technical edits to this legislation and its exhibits to implement the council's intent. This amendment supersedes inconsistent language in any other amendments. Amendment 2. 1, delete amendment 1. And so overstricken is revise and then amendment 1 sponsored by Delegate Slater as and that's overstricken as follows. And so of the UUFB funds allocated herein, any all amounts exceeding $20,000 that remain in each individual chapter's emergency fund account as of September 1, 2023, because such funds are unspent or unencumbered by the chapter as of that date shall revert to the UUFB account on that date. 2, renumber or re-letter succeeding paragraph sections and exhibits as necessary and appropriate. The Office of Legislative Services and the Office of Legislative Counsel are authorized to make technical amendments to this legislation and its exhibits to implement the council's intent. This amendment supersedes inconsistent language in any other amendment. And then we go to amendment 3. On page 3, line 1, insert the new section 4 as follows. Section 4, directives. This is underscored language. 1, the Navajo Nation Council hereby directs the Division of Community Development, the Office of Management and Budget, and the Controller's Office to deposit the funds in their required business units within 5 days after the Navajo Nation president signs this resolution into law. 2, underscored language, the Navajo Nation Council hereby directs that the Division of Community Development, the Office of Management and Budget, and the Controller's Office not to require chapters to provide chapter resolutions in order to receive the funds approved by this resolution. 2, renumber or 3, renumber or re-letter succeeding paragraph sections and exhibits as necessary and appropriate. The Office of Legislative Services and the Office of Legislative Counsel are authorized to make technical edits to this legislation and its exhibits to implement the council's intent. This amendment supersedes inconsistent language in any other amendments. So that concludes the second reading.
If you had staff for that reading. Kwadon colleagues, you have debated and also for many hours on this legislation. With that, we'll be going on to the board for a vote on the main motion. 15 seconds to vote. Honorable Crowdy votes green via text. Honorable delegates, we have a vote of 19 in favor and 2 opposed. This required a simple majority. The main motion passes. Honorable Daniels.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yeah. At this time, I want to make a motion to amend the agenda and add an item to add an emergency legislation to the agenda. So a motion that states that legislation number is 0004-23. Reserve time.
(4:33) reserve time. Staff, can you read that legislation into the record?
Okay, this is a proposed Navigation Council Resolution, 25th Navigation Council, first year 2023, introduced by Herman Daniels, primary sponsor, tracking number 004-23, an action relating to an emergency and the Navigation Council adopting for the Navigation the 2023 legislative priorities of the Navajo-Utah Commission, supporting certain legislative bills in the Utah legislature and urging the state of Utah to adopt the same priorities and enact such bills into law.
Second by Honorable Damon. Are there any comments, questions to amend the agenda to consider the emergency legislation? If there's none, this will require a 2/3 vote. Point of privilege by Honorable Begay. Honorable delegates, the legislation was emailed at 5 o'clock PM today. But we will do our best to give you a hard copy. Honorable Begay, is that okay? Members of the 25th Navajo Nation Council, if there's no other additional questions, we'll go on to the voting board. This does require a 2/3 vote. Point of privilege by Honorable Tlaw. Point of privilege is that I don't have a copy as well. Can we circulate that? Honorable Tlaw. The legislation was emailed at 5 PM. Staff is also making a Xerox copy as we speak. Honorable Daniels, point of privilege.
Thank you. Without that, Madam Speaker, I want to clarify my motion. Which entity we did legislation 003-23. Which entity so thank you.
Okay, she asked for that clarification. You did mention that it will be new business, 7 new business B. Do you concur? Honorable Damon? Honorable Damon concurs. Honorable Arvizo? How do you vote? It's locked on the board. Honorable Arvizo votes green. Honorable Vince James. Green. Honorable Nez. Green. Honorable Yonito. Green. Honorable Carolyn Yazzie. Green. We have a vote of 21 in favor, 0 opposed, speaker not voting. Colleagues, we are on new business B. Legislation 004-23. And I believe staff is still finalizing those copies. Staff, can you read it into the record?
Thank you, Speaker and members of the Navajo Nation Council. This is a proposed Navajo Nation Council Resolution, 25th Navajo Nation Council, first year 2023, introduced by Herman Daniels, primary sponsor, tracking number 0004-23, and action relating to an emergency, and the Navajo Nation Council adopting for the Navajo Nation the 2023 legislative priorities of the Navajo Utah Commission, supporting certain legislative bills in the Utah legislature and urging the state of Utah to adopt the same priorities and enact such bills into law. So therefore, within the body of the legislation, there are exhibits that are referenced in this legislation. Exhibit A is a resolution of the Navajo Utah Commission of the Navajo Nation Council, NUCJAN-904-23. And then there is, and that consists of 2 pages, and then the Office of Legislative Counsel memo is also attached, and there is no internet public review document that's attached. And that concludes the reading of legislation number 0004-23. Speaker.
We have a motion by Honorable Damon, and we can second by Honorable Charles Newton. Honorable delegates, questions? Honorable delegates, there are no questions or nobody in the queue. At this time, we'll to the main motion, Honorable Toll. Oh, wait, 20 minutes, right? Before that, we'll have the sponsor do his presentation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yeah, 25th Navajo Nation Council, Kudo Shinat Shaniki, Egi Bedak, Ego Kudo, Adonana, Ekiti, Nido, Akel Nils and Katita, Ado Kudo, Kudo Nagayam, not so better now, it's I Kudo, not so better, Katie Kudo, Getan, Souls Baggy, legislation 0004-23, A Kudo, A Getas Souls Bokat. I don't know if you email that the other hard copies finished over the finished over now. You was net or let's quit up. So quit on the way down. Every year we do this quit on the way with all the 3 states. Was it 4? Including Colorado 4. We do our legislative priorities. According to Utah, the 7 chapters, the 7 Utah chapters, we had our Navajo Utah Commission meeting. Honorable Parrish, Honorable Yanito. Chapter officials in Rimigi, don't hit out yeah, just recently, late Friday, and then we had our meeting and we passed a resolution. Could on in the state of Utah on the San Juan County. Utah Strip, the 7 chapters. Could have been hit in out could have Bacadalia. Could a con hit hot, Niki out of a car, the cocoa could on Asagi could the year could we hit this out baby hit the honey bakers in the house creation of Utah Indian Child Welfare Act law, equal law. I'd open it Nanagi B. Navajo Mountain to Ojeto Transportation Environmental Impact Statement Study. Akochoi Ajaban Hat Ado Nanaquado, the state of Utah, the Yegoyan, cases Nadida, to build a road between Ojeto and Nazis on Navajo Mountain. Akodi is one of the priority of Adonana establishment of higher education facility in Montezuma Creek, Ado domestic violence funding support for Gentle Iron Hawk Shelter to innovate a blending Utah, the shelter, Adonana protection of voting rights for Native Americans. Because should not the year don't keep an advantage in the and later in the state of Utah, San Juan County, Zuba, which they get kitchen Adonana, Montezuma Creek, and Community School broadband extension. To this and coordinate broadband. A cocoa, Only Walker Housing Loan Fund funding support for tribal affordable housing projects. Of Caucus for projects in San Juan County in the Utah chapters. What I could Mayo Kiko could Only Walker Fund. Based on future I see the way how what days the beginning of one band eco. Adonana completion of plan Utah Department of Transportation projects on Navajo Nation in San Juan County. If you travel between Aneth, Utah and Bluff, Utah, I see a team. I see the house of the year, especially right there between Aneth, Utah and Montezuma Creek, Masse, the Tragi. That a base of Shabbat at the whole yard for this cheated the Hador. I said, I made a walk, ice, not either. I don't that could all strengthen tribal county law enforcement cross commissioning agreement. The big one. You got to get out Delegate Charles Newton, the way 24th Council Law and Order Committee Chair.
the convention by rise yet or reason that in the Yigo Lipin stated Senator David please that indeed or Phil Lyman that Congress Curtis that any the or Yigo a light later late arts I get really wanted this to me a lot of those legislation up there because this all these executive emergency legislation is what we really need to pass in order for us to go up to the Utah state to support a lot of these issues. Even in Shinko Benikato, and what's got 24 council as you not eat or that eat as in not on the different states they according to all Gigi they quite that all so you can't watch over the echo to you just see or if you have reserve my time.
309 reserve time. Honorable Toll.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Aro Kuru Tandako. Esani Tlemigi. Not Ani no Tlemigi. Aro adequate visitors. Tashina Daisa. Aroshita. Kuru resolution needs so zito in the Baki. Guess one of the things I want to ask if this is included. Has tweet or sunny. About the Hajaya dollars. Ron Ha. A hundred zunzin dollars. It has it or priority cousins. The other thing is our language. As native, the Nani Klenigi. Hizapa Hanitzi. It has it has so called. To those in his lot so that eggy I would say the jet. It even Adish Kiro Lishita, or a Sosnil Sosi Makodaba had this Tito. Roshim reserve my time for it. Thank you.
Reserve time 344. Honorable Vince James. To the motion.
Yeah, Nana Dance, Assistant Speaker Curley, do the 25th Navajo Nation Council. Ado Shina, Ado not so spade, okay, Digi, a Hidato Ning, so the call. Ado Shinat Arno Slinigi. Kododa, just see debate the sleeping so I'm just kidding. I know we don't have the tallies. I know we don't have the numbers, but Obey Candy Kahe Nache Ashin Torja Hahot Zohas Anje Adikanas Nelson the Ligi A Beni Yako Ado Nato Shikna Ash Honorable Dan George to and the need Dada Adole Anan Ito Taona Ni Di Quatahi Echo Adeo Quadon Hishanad and Hiyokid or Yacht Sostor Lish Quadon. So February 1st, so she found that the day of Salt Lake City, the Obe, Ahaz and Adoshi, Naton, his speaker, Haid Ashin, Nan Hin Nature Shin on committees, Jo A. Aja Speaker Bass Lahle, Ado A. State Task Force, Ado Aja Beat Nadan, the State Task Force Committee. Aja priorities. Accord Odo Kodobe came the cohesion at Arnold Lenigi. What our Bahadis the Doba Nidish can't accord him, but Banadi Kido, what Abel Casey Zindo, the what Arbe, Shehot Arnadi, no a Hanza, she not those keep a question at Arnold Lenigi, or what are a Banais is condolate. With that, I waive the rest of my time. We can have Sister Speaker Curley. Thank you.
Waive time. Honorable Daniels, sponsor of the legislation, and go over for you for those questions.
Thank you. With all, yeah, Nana, Madam Speaker. Ado Kodo Shas Tui Kodo honorable top could I get could I see could I need the net could I go event as throughout the Navajo Nation. Marie is through the sunny. But I yanagi or that ever has anigi there. It then leko. I don't know his zad and his engaged he can be there. But not him though none beho after. Or that ego that and his zadigi. I don't get his last soul. Edo and the other. So that's gonna be a change as the one. I don't know actually she told he had as the I don't know they can't cut a car but I had to buy it or Kalita have a kind of way to that elder she but only one side case but so is she could on a radio also could on NDJ could never either commission resolution. She could a cow and the alcohol. So the next meeting, the she could buy that the three delegates as the hard Hanigi, he like the way that Ishmas undergone so the data. She hate I either could has stitch what I then would see. She could immediately could order resolution and made or clearly could order the legislation amendment. But my mate or kill beaten dots so called. So it would have not said what I don't know what she's in a very delegate Yanito, I don't know if it's Celia over that delegate James and then get question just February 1st. Utah Native American Summit. I don't know the way the 8 tribes in Utah were Navajo Nation were one of the 8 tribes. The governor of Utah, Spencer Caucus, and the lieutenant governor, Deidre Henderson, which is the name be and now it's a give everything that is not doing that. So ski could be jail, she could resolution they need so storage, other than other delicate so storage. Be then now it will be could a Mahaba or send all that she need on the other. Other space mass, I'm not sure not machine. Other things like that, I don't let her go. I don't know could on the 8 tribes in Utah. 8 of us at each and 8 lake or a kitchen that we to add. Then how to what do Navajo Nation will be in how to the way the 7 other tribes, they vision that we I was on the way down. It's so as in the way down, chair or vice chair, those things can't not get need to go. So I add one net or let's go. I don't know every quarter, a the way Utah tribes is a certain date as well. So it would have not sit on it with Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Honorable Daniels, we have on reserve time, Honorable Yanito with 3 minutes and 9 seconds.
Yeah, no, Teo, yeah, she hadn't know needed emergency legislation introduced daily. On the late chapters, what you have a project, so you submit the late to Shanalibit Marini. He's one of the lobbyists from the state of Utah. They got that in review, little, George told him that Anita. There's priorities in the chapter projects that I don't know language LT as about the regalia for graduation and so forth. So that any language and it's an elective position as to educate our kids in our high school though. They don't Navajo language, so it's really been taught in our high school that any or you allows Bichanas and the Gibe without really resistance. So this is it. So counties that in those state that and they really support Native American and team that elite and operating this is even as you very well here in Sando I'm really thrilled to go up there and meet all these new legislators up there. Look where they are, banana seal, I reserve my time. Thank you.
Reserve time 1:24. Honorable Toll, reserve time 3 minutes and 44 seconds.
I don't know, could speak a question. She. So, thank you.
Honorable Yonito, you have 1 minute and 24 seconds on reserve time.
And wait my time and let's go for the vote. Thank you.
Honorable Yonito waives his time. There's no additional questions or comments in the queue. If you're calling for a vote, go to the drawing board. We have a vote of 21 in favor, 0 opposed, speaker not voting. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Down to new business, number 8. Receive report from the Speaker of the Navajo Nation Council. Honorable James. Believe it's a recess. You can put your mic on.
Adjourn is what I said. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, is that for today? Honorable. Okay, just, all right. Okay, motion to adjourn, Honorable James, and then second by Honorable Damon. Any questions? All right, honorable delegates, drawn for a vote, go on the board. Delegate Crowdy read via text. That's a vote of 9 in favor, 11 opposed, speaker not voting. Motion fails to adjourn. Yes.
Thank you very much, good Lord, Madam Speaker. Yeah, I don't go to Shanat Anashanagi. I see them. You get out, I don't know, invite all kids. I see the Nahans and I don't know how Hans and the show that played as Lin Show down. So at this time, I want to make a motion to recess.
Second by Honorable Toll. The motion to recess. No questions, we'll go to the board, call for a vote to recess. Shiaj, recess motion in Lagish for tomorrow's.
Yes, tomorrow.
Honorable Crowdy votes green via text. Honorable Daniels, tomorrow go will we proceed with the reports? Oh. Honorable Slater. With the vote of 20 in favor, 0 opposed, speaker not voting. Motion carries to recess. Recess